Origin. Now we all know that mains is 2 months down the line. 22nd of August 2025 we have our mains examination of UPSC. So UPSC Civil Services examination का mains 22 अगस्त को है. So end of June we have, so technically we can say we have 2 months in our hands. Now what is most important thing is what exactly has to be the strategy. Now let me tell you one thing very clearly, that here I'm not going to go very much deep into the content part of it. Content as in कि अभी ये नहीं बात करेंगे कौन से important topics हैं. We will not be talking about what all are the kind of the questions which have been asked in the past. We are not going to focus on all those things. So the question is, what exactly is going to be the core content of this session? In this very session, we are going to be focusing upon that how do we approach the mains? How do you prepare yourself for the mains? What exactly is the right strategy for the mains which you have to follow in the next 2 months? That is what our basic idea is. So you have to keep this very thing in your mind. So I hope this idea is clear. वैसे तो when I start the session, you yourself will understand what exactly is this session going to be all about, but I'm just giving you an idea that you have to be very much clear that whenever you are preparing for the mains examination, how exactly your strategy has to be, how exactly you're supposed to be, preparing for that. All these points we have to keep in our mind. And the most important thing is that, mains is not just a homogeneous entity. We have ethics, we have history, we have geography, we have essay. We have to prepare for everything. And then the question is that how exactly do you prepare yourself? So first of all, we have to understand one thing, that when we talk about the UPSC Civil Services examination ka mains, what all do we have to study? So all in all, if I talk about GS1, then we have GS paper 2, then we have GS paper 3, we have GS paper 4. On top of that, we have essay paper to prepare. Then we have our optionals. So it can be optional 1, optional 2. These both the papers, they vary from person to person. Now, the most important thing is, if we are talking of all these topics, all these papers of GS, we have to keep one thing in our mind. And what is that? That is, I'm sure you have heard this so many times, but trust me, even I'm going to repeat the same thing, that is answer writing. And when I talk about the answer writing, let me tell you one thing. What do I mean by that? By answer writing, I don't mean to say कि आपको best answer लिखना है दुनिया का, जो possible भी नहीं है. Why? Because you have a limited time constraint over there. I'll come to that later on in the class. Best answer लिखना बहुत मुश्किल है. You can't be writing the best answer, but you have to be somewhere above an average answer. And how does that happen? How do you write a decent answer? You can write a decent answer if you have a basic foundational knowledge. Okay? So your basics are clear. That's one thing. And plus, if possible, you have some data points to justify your answer. If you have some data points to make sure that examiner also know that you are in a way a serious candidate, so only then I would say that you are on the right track. So keep this very thing in your mind. Now I'll be telling you, in this upcoming classes, what exactly our plan is going to be. I'll be focusing on each and everything. But since I have already clarified that answer writing is very much important, so the question comes that how do we improve answer writing? So for that, we have got a very, we have got a very nice opportunity for you guys. What is that? We have got a test series for you. Now the best part is, at IAS Origin, the test series is totally free for the first 50 students. So you can find the link in the description. Later on, it will be also there in the comment section. So you can go over there, you can register yourself, and you will be getting it for free. So it is mains test series. Mind you, ये किसकी test series है? Mains की test series है. So mains की test series means you are going to get free evaluation by our evaluators. That is all free of cost. Now, before I even go deep into our session, what we have planned today, I would like to talk about one more thing, and that very aspect is that if I tell you about myself. I have been, mentoring aspirants like you for the past 8 years. And recently I have also cleared Himachal Pradesh Administrative Services examination with a rank of 25. So what helped me reach here? It was just sheer, answer writing, that's one thing, and quoting some important facts, some important data in the answers. Trust me, it really works. Now just imagine examiner है, वो बैठे हुए हैं, वो answers check कर रहे हैं. He is evaluating the answer sheets. He is having 10 answer sheets with him. And there is one question about Indian economy, something, Indian trade, GS paper 3 का question है. He's checking that, more or less everybody has written the same thing. But there comes a student who has quoted that, recently India got $80 billion in FDI in the financial year. And we got, we have recently breached $700 billion in the forex reserves as well. That was the record which we breached. And then he has also quoted about the export data that, we breached $800 billion of exports, merchandise exports, and overall, I'm talking about that data. So in a way, I'm not saying that you have to cram all the data under the sun, but like related to the women, related to children, related to other vulnerable sections, related to Indian economy, related to some sort of Indian agriculture, you should have some data or facts, from the recent news or whatever has been in news, because that will surely add weight to your answer. Trust me, these are very minor things which a lot of students ignore. So whatever I'm telling you from my own experience, that it will surely be helping you to secure a better marks when we talk about the GS examination. And before I move ahead, I would also like to tell you that every Sunday from 12 to 3, we also have a workshop. हर Sunday 12 से 3, उसका भी link आपको मिल जाएगा description में. You will be finding the link of that in the description itself, so you don't need to worry about that. Now, let's delve deep into the mains. You talk about the mains paper. When you talk about the mains ka paper, let's talk more about that. Okay? Especially ethics we'll talk later. I'll talk about GS paper 1, GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. So many of you may have appeared in the mains earlier and many of you may be the first time attempters. So that is absolutely fine. What matters is that particular attempt in which you give your 100%. It doesn't matter that how many mains you have written. What matters is that particular mains which you shall be clearing. Now, let me tell you, in these GS papers, in every paper you have 20 questions, but not all questions carry the same marks. In these, 1 to 10 questions are smaller, and 11th to 20th question is slightly bigger. Why do I say that? Because these are 10 markers. ये सारे क्या हैं आपके 10 markers आपके यहाँ पे question होंगे, like 1 to 20 if we talk about, they are basically carrying the 10 marks. So now what is more important is that we have to be very clear that 10 markers are supposed to be answered in a certain way, because they are certainly very much short. So maybe you don't have much scope to quote data or facts, you have to write to the point answer. Maybe somewhere you can do that, but basically you don't have much scope over there. Okay, so 10 marker mein. But when we talk about the 15 marker, you are going to have greater scope. Getting it? So remember that 10 marks each, 1 to 10 carry karte hain, 11 to 20 is carrying 15 marks each, where in the 10 marker you have scope to write only and only 150 words answer. Sirf aur sirf 150 words answer you are supposed to write, and in the 15 markers you can write a 250 words answer. 250 words ka answer you can write. Now always be very clear in this aspect that if we are talking of a particular paper, each paper is of 3 hours only. In those 3 hours, in each paper, you are supposed to write these 20 answers. So now tell me, how can anybody under the sun write perfect answer to all the questions? Okay, so there will be answers which you know very well. Very good. and there will be answers which you are maybe not too confident in. There is a big chance for that. So you are supposed to be, very much clear in this aspect, and trust me, this is what certainly, matters a lot, and I am 100% sure that you will be able to justice to the questions once, you are understanding the basic details. I'll tell you the best part about the mains is that there's nothing which, a lot of things are there which you have studied, like Rigvedic age, later Vedic age, you have studied. If you have cleared the prelims, that means you have studied that. But where comes the most important decisive factor? It is basically how do you write an answer. So basically, I'll just give you an example that whenever we are, preparing ourselves for the mains, how the preparation differs from that of prelims. Okay, prelims is different preparation, we all know. But why in the first place is it different? I'll just try to make sure you understand that. Okay, so I'll just show you a question. Have a look at this question. Okay, so underline the changes in the field of society and economy of the Rigvedic and later Vedic age. So technically it's a question of transition. So in your answer, so just imagine you have to write just 150 words. You don't have much scope, but still you will have to give a basic introduction. Got it? You can give in terms of the years that, from around 1500 BC to 1000 BC it was the Rigvedic age, then 1000 BC to around 500 600 BC it was later Vedic age, and then you move to the main body. In the main body you have to identify two things. One is society and one is economy. Just imagine this thing. Dono ko karna hai. Society, economy. You have to do justice to both. That what exactly has been transition. First you will tell about the society from Rigvedic to later Vedic age. Then you tell about the economy from Rigvedic to later Vedic age. So just imagine this thing, that how tough it can be in the examination hall to answer if you have not practiced earlier. So that's what the idea is. Practicing is very much important, and that is the reason why at IAS Origin we are giving you a free test series for the first 50 students. If you want to enroll, you can certainly find the link in the description. So I hope this idea is absolutely clear to you guys. Everyone who is watching the session, make sure you all are, sharing the session with your friends so that they can also be in a position to take full advantage of this session. They can benefit from this very session. I'm certainly seeing that a lot of students have already joined in the session, which is actually great. So now one thing is for sure that, you all are having a decent level of understanding. You all are having a decent level of clarity from what we are, talking about that. And trust me, well, these are the aspects which are of immense importance. These are the points which we have to certainly, cater to, which we have to keep in our minds. So remember, in the mains, especially GS, I'm talking about GS papers. So what all are the important things to be kept in the mind? The very first thing is, of course, the word limit. As I've already told you, what is the word limit we have to keep in our mind? For 10 markers, the starting question set is just 150 words. And for 15 markers, it is 250 words. And one thing which a lot of people will not tell you is the time limit as well. You have to keep one thing in your mind that, for each paper, you're having how much time? Just 180 minutes, 3 hours, 180 minutes. So since 180 minutes we are having, so what are we supposed to do? We have to, of course, make sure that 180 minutes ko hum judiciously use kare. We are not having unlimited time under the sun. What exactly we have to do is in that particular 180 minutes. So always and always, understand one thing, that whenever we are talking about this particular examination, you have to understand a simple point, and that point is that never get stuck. Never get stuck in one question. There may be a question which you think, yaar, samajh nahi aa raha, yaad nahi aa raha, all those things. But you are supposed to make sure that you are still, moving further, because there is high chance that maybe that one question on which you're spending too much time, this can cost a lot of time. You can maybe end up wasting a lot of time, which is not at all advisable. So ये आपको बहुत clearly understand करना है that whenever you are going for the paper, never get stuck in a particular question. You have to keep moving on. And I'll tell you that entire strategy, that how in the first place are you going to be attempting the questions, what exactly is the time limit you're going to be keeping in your mind. I'll be bringing so many sessions to you every day. So firstly, keep this thing in your mind that this 12 p.m. live is going to be going for quite some time on this channel now. So tomorrow also you have to come here 12 p.m. live, and I can assure you that we will have a nice analysis of GS paper 1, the next day GS paper 2, the next day GS paper 3. We'll have a proper analysis of all these papers. Why? In the first place, because it is important for you guys. It is very much important to keep these things in your mind, and trust me, GS papers are very much scoring. It is not that you will be finding very much tough questions. Even if you pick last year paper only, you have got questions which are very much manageable. Questions to manageable hai. But then the biggest question is that are you able to attempt that or not? That is the biggest thing. So that is something you have to keep in your mind, that how are you in the first place able to manage that particular thing. For example, they're asking about the question on the Pallavas of the Kanchi. So temple building pe question aane ka chances hai. North India temple, South India temple, Nagara, Dravida, maybe they will ask you to compare the styles, all these kind of things. What were the events that led to Quit India movement? Point out the results of the Quit India movement. All these kinds of questions. So they are a bit analytical, but they are not unheard of. Quit India movement you have definitely studied sometimes. Temple architecture of the South India you have definitely studied at some point of time. Hai na? So Pallavas, Cholas, everybody, even if you have studied NCERT, you have gone through these topics. I can assure you. It is just about how exactly are you able to write the answer or not. So again, we come down to that particular point only, that are you in a position to focus on that word limit and you are able to deliver a particular answer. Because answers ka structure matters a lot. Answer ka structure has to be there. It has to have a proper intro, especially for the 250 words question. You have to have a proper intro, body, and you have to make sure you have a proper conclusion also. So in the due course, we'll be talking about how do you frame a intro, how do you frame a body, how do you frame a conclusion. We will be coming to that. Now comes a very important point which a lot of students don't focus upon in the mains ka paper. Let me tell you, in the mains GS paper or even optional maybe, जो questions hai, we have certain directive words over there. Directive words, like you may have seen discuss hai kisi mein, then examine, maybe there is analyze, etc, etc. So I'm sure you must have come across these directive words, and a lot of students think कि भाई जो हमें आता है वही लिखना है. Directive words तो ऐसे time pass के लिए दिए हैं, which is not true at all. Always keep in mind this particular thing, bete, that directive words have to be taken very much seriously. You cannot write anything and everything which because directive words are there for a reason. So they want to make sure that you are highlighting a certain aspect of that answer only. This is one thing. So I'll also be giving you a basic idea of various directive words, so that if and when in the question you see them, you should not just jump to what you should think and then answer. For example, these are the most important directive words, like evaluate, comment, discuss, analyze, examine. I'm sure you have seen in the previous papers also. Whenever a directive word is there, that is evaluate. Now what does evaluate means? Evaluate means you have to come to a particular decision based on overall analysis. So you have to focus on the pros, you have to focus on the cons, positives and negatives. And if a word critically is added, like critically evaluate, it is basically used when a fair judgment is demanded by the examiner. So you have to come to a proper judgment. ठीक है, critically evaluate अगर आ गया तो judgment is important. सिर्फ evaluate आया तो pros and cons are more important, backed by of course evidences. Evidences means it can be certain facts, it can be some data. If you know, that would be great. Whenever I'm talking about the comment, so comment ultimately is a statement basically which expresses an opinion or a particular reaction. So that's quite important. So here it will be very much important to pick out the main points, and yeah, you can certainly give your opinion based on, of course, the information or certain arguments which have been said by someone important person, ambassador, foreign minister, prime minister, or any other scholar. So you should try to take a neutral ground, or you have to write viewpoints or the facts. Technically, comment means that. Got it? So I hope now you know that evaluate and comment are both different things. You can't confuse both the things together. You have to be very much clear in this particular idea. समझ आ रहा है? Having said that, when we talk about the discuss, so discuss may we have to have certain debate. Now debate, I'll also be giving some examples that how a certain answer is going to be different just based on these points. Based on these idea only, we are going to have a different answer altogether. So that's why we have to be very much clear that whenever a question comes, we are putting these things in our mind that okay, what exactly is being asked, and how in the first place are we supposed to answer that? Getting it? So I'll give you examples. Don't worry. So just focus on what I'm talking about. So discuss mein kya hai? We have certain debates. So we are giving some reasoning backed up by evidences again. The evidences are there like for or against, and ultimately we have to arrive at a conclusion. So examiner is focusing on your discussion, like that is various perspective you're giving, or you're giving a logical argument. That is what examiner certainly wants from you when we talk about the discuss. When we talk about the analyze, you're expected to break a particular issue in small parts, and then you explain how they are related to each other, how exactly in the first place you can understand that particular aspect. I'll also show you some example on that so that it helps you. And on top of that, we have to understand one thing when we talk about this directive words and examine. So examine mein kya hai? It means you have to go about certainly deeper into the topic, and then you are expected to investigate. You have to expected to establish some facts related to that particular thing. So from question to question, it certainly will vary. So you have to certainly keep this thing in your mind. So I'll do one thing. What I'll show you, what I'll do is I'll just make sure that we have a paper over here, and that will help you understand that what exactly I'm trying to imply when I talk about this thing, that what precisely do we certainly need to keep in our mind, that is going to be very much important. Okay. So I'll just show you a question that how exactly are we supposed to answer that, especially this aspect of analyze. Okay. So it's going to be a very basic question, but of course we have to do justice to that very question. It is just for the practice aspect I am bringing to you. So it was asked by the UPSC, but in some other examination of UPSC, this question has been asked. Okay. So let me just present in front of you so that we can have a healthy discussion on that very question. So this is the very question which we have. Okay. Analyze the socio-economic conditions during the Gupta Age. Got it. Now remember, as I've told you, you expected to break the issue into constant parts. So what exactly do I mean by that? Now just imagine this is a question which has been asked in 150 words ka ye hai. That is a 10 marker question. So since it's a 10 marker question, what exactly are you supposed to do? So you have to understand here the examiner is expecting you to tell about socio and economic. So you have to focus on social as well as economic conditions of which age Gupta Age. So you have to have some idea that from 3rd century to 6th century AD, predominantly in the northern part of India, we had the Gupta Age. If you have this idea about where it stands in the history, you certainly can give a good introduction to this very question. Agree? आप एक अच्छी introduction दे सकते हो only and only if you are having these very basic information in your mind. So remember this thing, that we have to come up with the intro, then we have to come up with the body, then we have to come up with the conclusion to that. So again, what I am telling you is not a model answer to this question. What I am basically telling you is, just to make sure you understand how in the first place you are expected to answer this very question. So that is what the idea is going to be like. I hope you understand on this point. So here what you can do is, you can firstly focus on the society, then you focus on the economy, and then you are absolutely good to go. So this is how you basically answer such questions. ये बात का ध्यान रखना, बहुत important चीजें हैं, मतलब these are certainly very much important things which we are basically talking about. Is that clear, all of you? So anyways, so let me tell you, in such a question, you can write something like this, that in the Gupta age, often termed as the golden age in the Indian history, because it is the age in the ancient history which is the golden age. So you can start with that. That's absolutely fine. So it had seen remarkable progress in various fields. It was a period of cultural and intellectual flourishing, something like that. So this can act as a good intro to your question. Getting it? Now the most important thing is that if there is a 150 words ka question, it's a 10 marker question, there you can write even a smaller intro also. So if we have a 10 marker, you can just write, the Gupta age, often termed as the golden age in the Indian history, and then you can start your answer as well, because you don't have much to write. But in a proper 15 marker, that is 250 words wala jo answer hai, usme you have to make sure that you are writing a proper introduction and then you move to the body. Getting it? So you can consider this answer as a 15 marker, and since it is about analyze, so we'll be analyzing it properly. The socio will analyze, the economic will analyze. Why? Because we have to break each and every part, as I've already told you. So mind you, that is why directive words are important, because we have to understand these points very much precisely. I hope this idea is clear. So now understand this thing. Whenever we are talking of this, aspect of like Gupta age we're talking about, so let's talk about the society. In society, what do we focus? We focus on the Varna aspect, stratification of society. We talk about the status of the women, and we talk about the education as well. It's a part, very important part of the social aspect. So we talk that Varna system was rigid, Sanskrit was the language of the elite literature, and we have Brahmadeyas, the land grants of the Brahmins, which strengthen their economic and social status, we can mention like that. So it is telling much about the society. Society mein women ki position declined certainly. Why? Because they were confined to their homes. Education was not very much open to them. It was quite restricted. We also see, the practice like sati and dowry prevalent in that particular times, as has been seen in some literature. Then we see the language ke baad, the education. Nalanda they built, Guptas built, and Takshila was there earlier on, and they were all prominent educational hub in India. So we have to focus on these aspects. So that is social conditions. So you can write in the pointer form or whatever suits you, but you have to make sure that you underline important aspects. For example, if I write that in the examination hall, what am I supposed to do? We are supposed to underline them specifically. For example, Varna system. For example, Brahmadeya. For example, here, status of women decline, that's it. Then we focus on Nalanda, Takshila. So just make sure you are letting examiner know that you have written these points, as simple as that. Like tax-free land grants. So this is your duty to make sure, because examiner may end up missing out reading on them. So aapki zimmedari hai ye, that you have to tell the examiner that I have written that. So you have to make sure that the examiner is reading all that properly. Trust me on that, this is very much important. These certain aspects are certainly of much importance. You are supposed to do all these things in order to make sure your answer stands apart. Now on top of that, when we are talking of economic conditions, so in economic condition, what exactly do we focus upon? You focus on currency, you focus on trade, you focus on agriculture. So here we have to do that only, that India witnessed expansion of the agriculture. Okay, so we also saw forced labor, that is Vishti, which was there. So it is indicating feudal exploitation. We saw internal trade flourished. We had various well-developed trade routes. Uttara Patha was there, Dakshina Patha was there. We have gilts, that is Shrenis. We also have seen that Gupta rulers are issuing coins, that is dinar, of high purity. And silver and copper coins are also there for the local trade. And you can tell that, towards the end of the Gupta age, we saw decline in all these aspects, which is certainly very much evident. So ultimately, you have to understand one thing, that ultimately we have to keep this thing in our mind, that towards the end of the Gupta age, things are not going very much hunky-dory. They're not great. But we have to understand that we have done justice to answer or not. So I hope now you know that how do you structure a particular answer. आपको एक आंसर को लिखना कैसे है वो बहुत ज्यादा important है, and that is what I'm trying to tell you. So there's nothing to, basically there's nothing that you can cram precisely. You can't do that, and you should never do focus on the cramming aspect. I'm very much against that cramming. What I am for is that you have to certainly focus on things precisely, and once your focus is very much strong, you have to apply them. As simple as that. Getting it? So we are supposed to understand that whenever you are writing examination, you have to be very much clear in your approach. That's one thing. And you also have to be very much smart in how in the first place are you understanding these aspects. I'll also be delving deep into the syllabus part, that what all are you supposed to study, or how in the first place you're supposed to study. But let me tell you one thing, bete, that mains examination is very much doable. It is just that you have to have a right approach and you have to work really hard. No substitute in that. But if you're doing the smart work, if you are focusing on the previous year question themes, I can assure you that you're going to do wonders in the examination, which is there in the August 22nd, 2 months down the line. You can do very well. So remember this thing, that make sure you avail that free test series, which is there for the first 50 students. You can find the link in the description. That's one thing. Make sure on Sunday you do attend that 12 to 3 p.m. key. It's a free workshop for you guys. So do attend that. And I'll be, going deep into the syllabus part also. But first of all, you have to focus upon these things, and do join this. This is Telegram channel. So join this for useful PDFs, and make sure, this is IAS Origin UPSC. This is our own Telegram. So you can join this Telegram as well. Got it? Easy. Anyways, now we come to the most important aspect of today's class, that is syllabus. Okay, bhai, syllabus kya hai? When we talk about the mains ka syllabus, so what exactly is the mains ka syllabus? We have to keep this very thing also in our mind, because I am sure about one thing, that most of the students at times, they are not very much clear. I'm not saying you don't know the syllabus, but I'm just saying that a lot of students don't have a basic idea about the main syllabus. That is, what in the first place are they supposed to study whenever they are preparing for the mains, what in the first place they are supposed to study about the main syllabus. So I would like to talk about that. Mains syllabus. When we talk about the mains ka syllabus, again I'm talking mainly of the GS. Ethics ke liye we'll have a separate session. So we have like GS paper 1, we have GS paper 2, and we have GS paper 3. So all in all, starting from the GS paper 1, we have to keep a few things in our minds, that what exactly is being asked. Now, if I write just history, that won't be enough. Why? Because history they're asking so much. In history, they're asking about art and culture. They have modern Indian history. Art and culture ancient and medieval is very much there. Then you have world history also. Just imagine this thing, that world history is being asked. So you can certainly say ancient, medieval, modern, art and culture, world history. Everything is a part of GS paper 1 of mains, which certainly makes it a bit complicated, no doubt about that. On top of that, you have some questions on Indian society as well. So, demography, family systems, urban rural areas, urbanization trends, all these kind of things, they are important. On top of that, in GS paper 1, you also have the geography. And geography it is not just the Indian geography, it is Indian plus world geography. So I can certainly tell you that this is a challenging paper in terms of the coverage. Okay, so coverage is huge, no doubt about that. So we have to be understanding this point very much precisely, that how in the first place you are going to cover that, all these kind of things we have to keep in our minds precisely. Getting it? On top of that, if I talk about the GS paper 2 bete, what exactly does it entail? GS paper 2, we can say polity, but I'll say, to be precise, polity plus IR, in international relations, so they are very much important. You have aspects of governance. Okay, so you have to do justice to all those. So in a way, what you have studied in the prelims is about constitution you have studied. On top of that, you have to focus deeply into the aspects of international relations, India's relation with China, Pakistan, Bhutan, Myanmar, the neighborhood, and then bilateral relations with other countries as well. On top of that, we do have aspects of the governance. है ना, government policies, e-governance क्या है, what are the concerns, various schemes, vulnerable groups, statutory bodies, all those kind of things. So it's a polity, to the next level you have to go in order to cover that. And most important, most interesting is, I would say, GS paper 3. Why? Because it is not just about economy. Economy के aspect, of course, you will be covering. But on top of that, economy के साथ, what they have done is, they have put environment also, they have put security, disaster management, all those things are there. So we have got question on internal security, you have question on disaster management, you have question on environment and biodiversity. So just imagine, you have to study economy, then internal security, then disaster management, then environment. So because of this very thing, I would say this particular paper becomes a bit more challenging, because the length and breadth of the questions which are being asked, you can't really predict that. So that becomes a bit of a tough job for you to cover that. So I can assure you that you have to be some bit extra cautious whenever it comes to this. And having said that, what I would suggest you is that whenever you're going for the examination, just make sure of one thing, that you are having a separate notebook for the important facts and data, especially for the GS paper 3. It will help a lot. So if you quote, again I'm saying, important facts or data in your answers, it surely is going to work wonders for you. So keep that very thing in your mind. So आपको ये करना होगा, important facts, important data, you have to certainly quote in your answers. That surely helps. So let me tell you, we have talked about GS paper 1, GS paper 2, GS paper 3. This is certainly something which is of immense importance. I will be talking about ethics also, but again, as I'm saying, ethics ke liye we'll have a separate class, because ethics mein, we have theory and this other aspects of case studies also. So that's why it's a bit different paper. So for those who don't know, GS paper 4, ethics paper, as we call it, ethics integrity. So GS paper 4 is basically having two aspects. Okay, so इसके aspects बहुत अलग है. You will have question like theoretical question, theory I will call it, and then you also have case studies to be answered. So you have case studies. So you have to have some idea about the basic terminology. You have to be very much clear about, and then comes the case studies, that how you apply that particular knowledge. So in order to solve a particular situation. All these things certainly become a bit challenging as well if you have not practiced well. But if the practice is decent, that is absolutely fine. So उसमें तो कोई दिक्कत है नहीं. So you do have case studies in the part B of the paper, which you have to do. So we'll have a separate session on that. And of course we have the essay paper. So essay paper के लिए भी we'll have a proper session. This was mainly focused on the GS part of it, and overall perspective which we have to focus on. Now the biggest question comes, where do we start from, the mains preparation? So especially now, it totally depends on you, that how is your optional preparation, if you have to focus more on that. What I suggest you is that especially for GS paper 3, you have to focus on the economic survey. You can find plenty of summaries, you can read that. So from economic survey, do try to get some important data points or facts which you can quote in your answers. वैसे तो I'll be bringing sessions on that every day at 12 PM. You will be finding sessions live, so you don't have to worry. You will be having plenty of sessions over here. So try to do that particular thing, and trust me that exercise will work. So economic survey say try to pick data. For example, it can be simple as that India exports services. India is an overall exporter of the services, but India is an overall importer of merchandise. That's goods. So goods mein we are overall importer. So services help us in balancing our overall current account deficit or the balance of payment account. You just have to quote this much information if there is a question on the service sector. So you can use this information which has been given in the economic survey. As of now, I am able to recall this only. So from economic survey, you will find plenty of such data points. You have to do smart work. Even you skim the economic survey, you will find certain things like this. Recently, it was a news that India received remittances last year of $129 billion. And for the past 3 years, we are breaching $100 billion. है ना? For the past 3 years, our remittances every year are more than $100 billion. Sometime 111 billion, sometime 129 billion. So that is an important data point. About the forex, if a question comes, you should be able to quote that recently our forex breached $700 billion. If there's a question on the export subsidy, just imagine Exim Bank pe koi question aa gaya, you do mention that recently our exports breached $800 billion mark, which is a great achievement. So all in all, what I am trying to tell you is that if and when you are quoting a relevant, again relevant data होना चाहिए, ऐसे नहीं कि कुछ भी डाल दिया. अगर relevant data point आप डाल रहे हो, you are going to be getting benefit of that. I can assure you of this particular thing. This is a fact which you have to keep in your mind. So in the comment section also you can find the telegram of IAS Origin. You certainly can join that because I'll be putting the PDF also over there. And I now hope that you have got a decent idea of how do we go about it. And trust me, for 1 week, just follow my advice. You come every day to the session 12 PM. 12 baje aap har roz aao and you'll see the difference in your preparation. Because these sessions are not hand-holding session nahi hai ye. These sessions are specifically to improve the value of your answers, which you are going to be writing in your mains, because that is what matters ultimately. Where do we quote what? In which question do we quote what? So firstly, we'll see the pattern of the previous year papers. That's one thing. And then of course, we'll be implementing that particular strategy, as simple as that. So that is what the idea is. That is what the overall game is, that how exactly in the first place are we going to go about it. And trust me, it is going to be a game changer in your preparation. On top of that, as I've already told you, that you are more than welcome to join the free mains ki test series. You should be doing that mains ki test series, which is important. For the first 50 students, it's going to be free. So you'll find the link in the description. Got it? So you go to the description, you'll find the link. If it is not there now, we'll be providing you later. But I think it is there. So there's a form you have to fill and you have to register for the free mains ki test series. For the PDF, you have to go to IAS Origin ka Telegram. That is also in the description box. Okay? And every Sunday, you will have a workshop from 12 to 3 PM. So you will be finding the link in the next session probably. So don't worry about that. आज तो Monday ही है, अभी 6 दिन है. So every Sunday we have 12 to 3 free workshops. So we have a lot of free initiatives for you guys. Make sure you are taking full advantage of that. So we have seen, okay, so यहाँ पे आपको मिल रहा है ना, ये link has been provided. So that's great. So you can see the link has been provided to you for the free test series which have started for you guys. And I am hopeful that this certainly works wonders in your preparation, as simple as that. Got it? So please make sure you like the session. Session को like जरूर कर दीजिएगा. For all those who have joined the session, Endo Chunk, thank you so much. So ultimately, just one thing I would like to say when I conclude the session. Today's session was basically to make sure you are being familiarized with what is required for the mains and how do we do well in the mains. Okay? So ये एक सेशन का आगाज़ है, ये एक जर्नी का आगाज़ है जो हमने आज स्टार्ट किया है एंड बहुत प्रिपरेशन के बाद, बहुत कॉन्टेम्पलेशन के बाद ये स्टार्ट की गई है. So make sure you are regular in these sessions, and I can again assure you one thing, that you will not be disappointed. You will be gaining immensely from these particular sessions. That is what I can promise you today. So I'm glad that so many students turned up in the session. बहुत खुशी की बात है. And thank you so much for all your love and support. I can assure you I won't disappoint you, because I'm not someone who have just guided the students. I'm also someone who has cracked the examination and made sure that I'm clearing the main stage, clearing the interview stage, and getting a final rank. That is why I'm saying that whenever the competition is there, it is amongst those top 2-3,000 people only in every examination. You have to make sure that you are doing well in that particular set of students. That's why hard work is important, because competition is not always in that 1 lakh students who are giving a certain examination, or in the mains it is not among the top 10-12,000 people. It is amongst that top 2,000 approx people, and you have to do well in that. That is what the idea is. So that's how it is, and it was great having this session. Thank you so very much again for tuning in. See you tomorrow 12 p.m. live on the same platform, IAS Origin. That's me, Akash, and they're signing off.